Level up your LA Kings experience with the new Vivid Seats Elite Seats. All the on-ice Kings action with even more exclusive access. Enjoy great seats to the game along with premier dining inside the Lexus Club with all-you-can-eat food and non-alcoholic beverages. Plus, get a free Team LA Kings item and parking with your purchase. Score your Vivid Seats Elite Seats tickets today and earn rewards on each purchase from the only ticket company that rewards you for buying. Experience it live with Vivid Seats, the official partner of the LA Kings.
You're listening to an LA Kings podcast. For more episodes of this and every other Kings program, visit lakings.com/podcast.
You're listening to All the Kings Men, the official podcast of the LA Kings. Now, here's your host, Jesse Cohen.
Joining me now, Armen Dembekjian, Senior VP of Events and Projects for Crypto.com Arena. How are you doing today, Armen?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Jesse.
I want to make one thing real clear before we start this conversation. You are in charge of the building, not necessarily what the in-game arena team chooses to do with the building.
That's correct.
So we're not going to talk about the flags that were there last night.
No, I haven't. Nothing to do with that.
That's not your, yeah.
But it was cool.
Yeah.
I loved it. That was great. Never seen
not your account.
Not my thing. No, I'm on the facility venue operations. Yes.
So I'm approaching this episode somewhat differently than I approach most episodes in that I have a page full of notes. Usually I'd like to do a little bit of research, but I try and keep it in my head rather than written down. But you came and spoke to us at the LA Kings corporate retreat this summer.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, I think I tried to write down everything you said because there's a lot of changes to Crypto.com Arena that happened this summer. And home opener, we're recording this the morning of October 25th, the day after the home opener. And I tried to get around the building and see as many of the changes as I could, but I didn't get to all of them. So I wanted to just run down the list and let's go through them. So the first thing on my notes was that the main concourse floors were changed. And I have written down epoxy, not tile. What difference does that make?
Huge difference.
Okay.
The main concourse takes more beating than any other floor, if you think about it. Everybody has to come through the main concourse before they go up to the other levels. So
sure.
Epoxy is it's more durable, it'll last longer. And then when there's special events, the Grammys, things like that, there's load-in and there's road cases, beer kegs, all kinds of things like that. So that'll just hold up longer, much better than a tile would.
Okay. So your average fan maybe won't notice that or know anything about that, but future-proofing the building. I like it.
Exactly.
The next one, the main concourse, ceiling and walls, I can't even read my own writing. New speakers and lighting. Now, I confess, I didn't notice that. I was a season ticket holder, a season ticket member for many years before coming to work for the team. And I do know that you can hear the game in the speakers and everything. And I remember you saying at the retreat when you were talking to all of us that there was an extra focus added on making sure that wherever you were in the building, that was something you could experience.
That's correct. I mean, the speakers we had in there were 25 years old. Right. Building's 25 years old, 25-year anniversary. So just changing all that out, putting up new speakers to get better coverage everywhere. Lighting at the entrances. Next time you come in at the two entrances, Figueroa side and the Chickering Court side. There's the ceiling, the light. There's like a lighting design now that just makes it more modern. Again, trying to fast forward 25 years, keeping up the building. TVs, same thing. Technology, you got to keep up with it. So put up new TVs all over the place as well.
We live in this funny world where like the toaster is still the toaster, but speakers and screens are evolving, every 3 months or something. How much better are speakers in 2024 than they were in 1999?
Oh, night and day. I mean, 1999 speakers, 20 years later, they were muffled in some areas. So this it was time. It was much needed.
Yeah. Now, this one is not something that maybe would leap to the front of my mind when thinking about a building, but if you sit down and really think about it, it's probably the most important thing in the building, and that's the bathrooms. And in my notes, I've got gutted with everything replaced. Now, I'm a spoiled guy, so I use the bathrooms available to the employees, which have been upgraded tremendously. I'm a big fan of that. But what was the thought process behind the bathroom renovations?
So over 25 years, we've maintain the space. If a toilet is damaged, we replace it. But this was just take everything out, put everything new mirrors, new sinks, new faucets, urinals, toilets, partitions, all of that. Again, just making it nice and clean and fresh and new.
Now, if I'm a company that sells bathroom appliances, listen, everybody needs them, but not everybody. I mean, how many toilets are we talking about when you buy, like when you fill out the purchase order? Like, is it thousands of toilets? Is it hundreds of toilets? How happy is the salesman when he gets the call?
Of course they're happy. It's a big sale. It's hundreds. It's not thousands. It's hundreds. Right. Like main concourse had 18 restrooms.
Okay.
Has 18 restrooms. So gutted all of that and then replaced all of them. Yeah. So hundreds.
That's got to be so much work. That's insane. The Clippers have moved into their own building, and so consequently, they don't need the Clippers Club.
Yep. Correct.
When you're doing a renovation like this and you're expanding certain areas into other areas, are you bringing in architects, or is it as simple as, listen, the space is so big and now we can just decorate it differently?
No, absolutely. We had Gensler working on that space. They were the architects that designed the space, and then PCL was the general contractor that built the space with Gensler's design. And this is where AEG management was involved. We gave the vision that we have, and Gensler put it together, presented it. You go a few rounds. We like this. We don't like this. We want to change this. Little things like that, back and forth, and came to the final setup.
So this is the Lexus Club expanding into the Clippers Club, and for those who don't know, this is on the premier level.
Premier level, suite level A. We had the Lexus Club before, and then there was another club that the Clippers used for their own purposes, and they're up against each other. So it was a simple blow out the wall, connect both rooms into one large space. So it tripled the size.
Right. Simple. Just take a wall out. No problem.
Take a wall out. That's it. That's all we got to say.
Easy peasy. So then the Yamava Club also got a refresh, new furniture, new TV, new lights. Listen, not everybody gets to go to the Yamava Club, but I've had the fortune a couple times. How much communication does there have to be with the sponsor in that situation? Because it is the building, but you're also changing, a space that a sponsor has some control over.
No, absolutely. And that's our global partnership team. And they're great taking care of those partners. So they communicate with them. They let them know these are things that are coming up that we're doing. If there's an input as well, sometimes we'll, like we heard back from Lexus, can we put a sign here? We looked at it. It looks great. Why not? Same thing. Gave Yamava a heads up that we're going to refresh the space, make it look new. And they love it. They want their brand to look brand new as well.
Do they get to update the, I don't even know what the word for it is, wherever their logo appears? Do they have to communicate with you if they want to change how that looks? Is there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. We work together.
Sure.
We'll work together. If they have a logo change, a design change, a brand change, they'll communicate with us, and then we'll get the signage vendor, figure it out, and take it from there.
Here's a real question that I'm sure no one will be interested in but me. When we changed logos and changed word marks and everything, we now have a new set of brand guidelines. Yes. And I know that there are some departments that care very much about maintaining the brand guidelines, and I know that there are other departments that maybe care a lot less about maintaining the brand guidelines. So sometimes, for example, I was having a Halloween costume made, and I just thought, well, you know what, I'll go in and I'll check with graphics and ask them if it fits the brand guidelines, because it's going to feature a king's crown on it somewhere. Spoiler alert for my Halloween costume. And they said, no, listen, we can't tell you not to do it. It's your life, but it does violate the brand guidelines. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'll change it. But then I go down into the locker room and I'm like, oh, I'm almost positive that the sticker on the hand sanitizer with the Kings logo, I'm almost positive that violates the brand guidelines. At Crypto.com Arena yesterday at the game, the new crown logo's everywhere. The new logo, the new word marks are everywhere. Do you guys you must have the brand guideline handbook?
Of course.
Does whoever's in charge of policing the brand guidelines come through and say, like, no, I'm sorry, you can't do that?
We get that all the time.
Okay.
The guideline, you have to follow it. And then when a change like that is happening, we are walking the building and looking.
Mm-hmm.
And, we do the best. There's a lot of times you find 95% of it. And then, a month later you come across, or somebody will send me a text message, hey, you missed this one.
Right.
Where is it? And it's hidden. And because at the time there was something in front of it that was blocking it that we didn't notice it or something. So no, you have to follow that.
What was a more, I don't know what the word for it is. When the switch happened from Staples to Crypto.com Arena, I was amazed at how fast so many, like it was one day, everything was red and the previous sponsor. And then the next day, even the folding chairs in the media room had little stickers on the edge that said Crypto.com Arena. I was like, wow, they got everything.
Jesse, that's a great observation to notice even the chairs. Yeah. We went, I would say, close to a month of just walking and logging every single thing. And it wasn't one person. It's right. Every department. Every department. Look at your areas. We had one master file that we logged everything in there, so we're not cross-referencing either. And then it was that switch over. Staples had to be out by Christmas Day game. That's what it was. So leading up to it, I think we had 2 dark days in between, from 22nd, 23rd, and then up to the 25th. So it was that day of just get in and take out anything and everything you can.
It was crazy impressive. I don't know if you've ever worked retail. I don't know how many industries have days where you have to do inventory, but it just reminded me of like working at Nordstrom, and they'd bring, it was one day where we have to do inventory. Every person, every department comes in, and you just start at the bottom and you don't stop till you reach the ceiling. And
it's doable as long as you plan it the right way. That's
planning.
Planning is the key thing, and then getting everybody on board to buy in and get it done. So.
All right. So sorry, that was a huge diversion. I apologize. So moving on to the City View Terrace.
Yes.
This was the one I was most curious to see.
Did you make it up there?
What's that?
Did you make it up there?
I absolutely did. Yeah.
Great.
But when I first saw the renderings, the conceptual artwork, and it was first described to me, and I've been sort of referring to it this way on the show for a few years now, it sounded very much to me like they were just going to punch a hole in the building and then have like a glass bubble that extended out onto the balcony. That's not really what happened. So I was pleased that because I had concerns of like, well, how are you going to climate control? How are you going to do all these things? But what ultimately happened, they did knock out another wall. Again, easy peasy. So as you're walking along the concourse, on the upper concourse, if anybody hasn't been to the building yet or didn't visit it last night, and you take the curve of the building, and where the what was the balcony called previously? Was that the City View Terrace?
It was City View Terrace.
Okay. As you'd hit the City View Terrace, on your left, there'd be windows that you could look out and see the terrace, and and you could see the skyline and everything, but it was outside. And then on your right, there'd be the interior wall and the 3 sections. So you've taken the sections out, you've put a bar in, you've expanded. Well, actually, I don't know if you did expand the wall between the City View Terrace and the concourse.
No, we did not. We took out those 4 sections in the end zone. Took out the 4 sections, cleared up the ceiling, went as structurally possible to have that high ceilings.
Did the windows originally go that high?
No.
Okay.
The windows were regular 10 feet tall, and 30 feet. So just to get that, that high ceilings just opens up the space. Put the bar in the center. There's 2 rows of seating in front of the bar and 1 row of bar stools behind it. There's some communal tables, areas to hang out at, where UC didn't have that. Upper Concourse didn't have that before. And now they have this nice premier area that they can hang out at. And you have high ceiling glass, 30 feet tall, that you can see the outside. And, you have the downtown skyline, and then on the City View Terrace, there's a brand new fixed built-in bar, where before it was just a temporary bar that we had up there. And now it's an actual bar that's got TVs on it, where you're waiting in line for a drink, you're watching the game. Before, that didn't exist. So you're trying to rush, get your drink and run back to the seat. You don't have to rush now. New furniture, cabanas, all that stuff. It's that LA rooftop feel.
How tall did you say the windows were?
Approximately 30 feet.
Okay, so those 30 feet windows are great at night. Saturday's game is a 1 p.m. game. Sun will be out. And now, yesterday they had I don't know if it's fabric or material or what it is, but they had the blocks down.
Yep.
What is that made of, and how is that controlled?
There's two different shades. There's two different curtains hanging over there. One of them is a blackout shades where no lights will come through, and then the other one is more of a see-through shade. So we'll be utilizing that tomorrow. So it's
that was my primary concern.
It's one press of a button.
Okay.
Press of a button, everything comes down. Press of a button, everything goes up. And there's different levels as well. Like, let's say we want just the top 10 feet, we'll hit 25%. We want the entire thing, we can go 100%.
Because I was,
it's very. Go ahead.
When I saw the renderings, the first thing I thought was climate control. The second thing I thought was, if I'm the goalie at the far end of the ice, and the sun happens to be, and I don't know if the sun sets in that direction or how the building is oriented, directionally, but boy, would I be annoyed if I'm staring into into the sun in the middle of an NHL game.
It was thought about. It was discussed thoroughly with the architects, the designers. Everybody was aware of it. So this has been a priority, a top item on our agenda. And we're ready for it. There's no concerns tomorrow.
So I was talking to some so I went up before the game started to check out the space, and I was talking to some Kings employees that were there, and they said that the tables that you referenced are first come first serve.
The communal, yes,
and that they are priced competitively with the sections around the area. It's like section 329.
Yes,
costs about the same to get a seat there as it does at one of the tables in the standing room.
The bar stools tables. Yeah, that's, and the Kings price that out. That's something that the organization, each team does their own pricing with that. The arena doesn't really get involved with that. So however they priced it, I was walking around over there talking to some fans, and they were loving the space. They're like, I get to hang out here. I have the bar right there. It's a no-brainer.
It looked very cool.
One fan was like, can you do the same thing on the other side?
Well, so that's one thing I did notice, is that at the Toyota Arena out in Ontario, they have the Crossbar, which is a bar on the main concourse, and they don't have the seats don't go full in the round, right? They stop at the end where the bar is. And as you're walking, if you do want to do a lap around the concourse, you walk in front of the bar and you can see the game, whatever. Crypto now has on the upper concourse what are we calling that open seating area?
UC Terrace, upper concourse.
UC Terrace. Okay. So there's UC Terrace.
The inside is the UC Terrace, and then the patio outside is the City View Terrace.
Gotcha. So you have the terrace on the upper concourse. Then on the premier level, you have, which is directly below it. You have the clubs and the what do you call the private booths?
So directly below the UC Terrace is suite level C, which there's the event suites over there.
Right.
Below that is our Centurion suite, which is sponsored by American Express. Below that is the Yamava Lounge.
Right.
And then we get to the 100 level.
So the end result is that if you're in the game and you're looking at that end of the building, it has this sort of uniformity to it.
Yes.
Which I wouldn't have thought about as something that I'd care about. But when I was in the building and I would glance over there, it just tickled that part of my brain that was like, yeah, that's the part where there's more space and it's not necessarily like an arena. Was the aesthetics of that move part of the consideration, or was it just like, well, the terrace is there, so we're going to expand the terrace into the building?
It's combination. It's the terrace being on that side. You just it just makes it more of a flow. You feel like you're inside and outside all on one side, and you have downtown skyline on that end. If you go to the other end, there's nothing really on the other side. So that's one. Two, for concerts, that's the stage end. So when the blackout curtain for a show drop, that's all that on that. So you want to be on one end to maximize the seating as a horseshoe for a concert on the other end as well.
That's so funny. I'd never actually thought about what happens at the Yamava Club during a concert, but yeah, that'd be a lousy seat for.
Yeah, it's behind the stage, so you just drop the curtain and you're good to go. We should have you come to a concert.
I should have at this point. The building's been open for 25 years. Now, next, I want to move on to something that I don't call by its appropriate name, and I want to make it perfectly clear that the name I use is done with the most respect I can possibly muster, and that is I refer to them as the arena bodegas. I believe we call them the Amazon walkouts.
Yes, the walkout concept,
Yeah.
correct.
I just want there to be like a little newspaper box and like a stray cat, because I don't know why. This is what it makes me think of. But look, a lot has been made, especially with the Intuit Dome being built, about this new cashierless world that we live in. How, like, now we've talked about the aesthetics, we've talked about sponsors. Do you also have to now factor in some sort of security protocol with Amazon and all, all of that? How complicated does that make it?
I mean, that was more of the technologies, obviously, just, last 25 years continuously improving, taking advantage of the new technology, taking advantage, and also seeing guest behavior. COVID kind of forced guests to they don't want to talk to somebody; they just want to grab and go. That kind of just made it get here faster. This technology has been around for a little while, but 2020 just kind of put this on a fast track. So a couple of seasons ago, we had one of them. It was one of the most successful concession stands we had. So that's why we've added multiple on the main concourse, multiple on the upper concourse. I think it's a huge benefit to guests, to season ticket holders as well that sit within those sections. Once you figure that out, you're walking in, swipe your card, walk in, grab your can of beer, bag of chips, whatever you want, and get back to your seat. It's, and again, same thing. I was walking around yesterday, just talking to fans and just trying to hear, what are they looking for other future enhancements? Or was this a good decision or a bad decision? Or how can we tweak this current decision? And everyone's been a fan of the just walkouts.
I'm assuming it's going to be one of those technological upgrades that will cause a certain type of person, me in particular, to wrinkle their nose and go, I don't want any part of that. And then as soon as you use it, you're like, oh my, like I resisted AirPods for the longest time. It might have been the most single life-changing purchase I've ever made in my, like, I can't fathom living without them. But for the first couple of years when they were available, I was like, no, I plug my earphones in with a cord. What are you talking about? I'm like, this is insane. How did I ever live without this? The Chairman's Club, the Delta Club, was redesigned again. I haven't been to the new version of it, but I was at the old new version of it, if that makes any sense. Listen, I'm not important enough or connected enough or wealthy enough to be able to go hang out at the Chairman's Club all the time, but I really liked it when I was there.
So when we did that 3 summers ago from the new Chairman's Club, Delta came in after, saw it, loved it, and they wanted to put their name on it, and they wanted to add the Delta touch. So that's what it was. Structurally, it didn't change. It was just more of a Delta Club touch. So added some different lighting, some signage within that space. They wanted the bar to look different than what it was before. Because again, they have their own Delta vision.
Sure.
The guidelines, the brand guidelines that we talked about earlier. Right. Similar to that. Each brand has their own vision that they wanted to put in. And this is what we did this last summer.
It must be a little bit like herding cats with, multiple clubs, multiple spaces within the space, each one controlled by a sponsor. The real question I want to know is, in the Chairman's Club, you have this design feature. It's not functional. It's purely aesthetic. It's the fire in the wall.
Fireplaces?
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, they're great. They look really cool. But, nobody's like sitting up next to the fireplace in the Delta Club to get warm, right? It's a design thing. So you have architects to rip out the wall between the Lexus Club and the Clippers Club. Who is it? An architect thing? Is it do you have interior designers? Like, who comes up with the idea? Let's have a fireplace in the wall.
That was part of the architects that when they designed the place, they have a team. The architects have a team as designers as well. When they built the place, they presented that. Our first question was, is this real fire or is it just, it's fake?
Right.
Like, no, it's fake. We're like, okay, all right, we're good.
Oh, is it fake?
It's fake. Yeah, it's
Oh,
fake.
I'm an idiot. I always thought it was real.
No, it's water vape.
Okay.
It's water vape with LED RGB lighting in there
Oh,
that
that's so funny.
So like hockey fights cancer night will have a different color, and then
That's so funny.
the concert will have a different color. Laker nights different color. Kings nights different color. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well done. I thought it was real.
Water vape looks
yeah.
fake.
All right. Yeah. I mean, Disneyland should take notes because it.
And there's some guests they specifically request we want to sit next to the fireplace. That's our spot.
That's funny.
They like the mood over there.
That's so funny. The one thing on my list that I did not get a chance to check out, and I very much wanted to. A lot of my friends were asking. I've seen a lot of talk about it online. I've seen the menu. I've seen the decorations. The name itself is absurd in that wonderful way. And that is Doritos After Dark, which used to be the Impact Sports Bar and Grill.
Correct.
And is now a Doritos themed bar with a Doritos themed menu. Now, unfortunately, I host the post-game radio show, so I couldn't get down to the bar after the game, and I have in-game responsibilities. But, I mean, how happy are people with Doritos After Dark?
It's different.
It sure is.
Different. I love the colors and the lighting and the design that they put in there. The menu is interesting.
Yeah.
It's perfect at the arena. You're there, you're hanging out, you're drinking, you're munching, and why not have some Doritos infused?
Yeah. So I know this isn't your responsibility, but just to run down some items real quick. Doritos spicy sweet chili chicken bites, Doritos flamin' hot nacho veggie dumplings, Doritos nacho cheesy messy taquitos, Doritos Cool Ranch loaded pita. I thought, yes. And then the sushi is the Doritos sushi.
I think there's an ice cream as well.
Yeah. The Doritos nacho cheese crunch-tastic vanilla cone. Yeah.
Yep.
Doritos flamin' hot limon mango. I'm not.
You and I got to go in there and try it out together. How about that?
Anytime. A friend of mine, for whatever reason, adores the vaporwave aesthetic. Okay. And he did go and he took a bunch of pictures and sent it and was like, I think he called it a vaporwave lover's dream.
Yeah, no, the space is it's I love the colors. It's funky. It's different.
It's different and funky. Yeah.
There's no other space in the building that looks anything like that. So
selfishly, I hope it succeeds, not because I particularly enjoy Doritos, but just because it is so different.
Yeah.
It really does give a special, like a unique stamp on the building. It's crazy.
And you got to have different options. There's 18,000 people coming to the game with different wants and needs. And there's that. There's the Lexus Club. I want to go to just walk out and not talk to anybody, or
that's my kind of thing.
Yeah. I want to do a ticket, whatever it is. Each person has a different thing. And there's different options for everybody.
Yeah. 2 different types of sushi. Doritos Flamin' Hot Cool Ranch Cali Roll and the Doritos Spicy Sweet Chili Veggie Roll. So
next game, we got to get together.
Yeah, if you love sushi and Doritos, Doritos After Dark is for you. The third to last item on my list is Chick Hearn Court. Now I understand that it isn't done yet. It was obvious by walking past it. Yes. But to me, that is maybe the most ambitious element of the renovation, is expanding the All-Star Plaza and connecting it to LA Live, you're taking a street off of the map of a city like LA.
Yes.
That had to have been a complicated process of approval.
Very complicated process. This is years in the making. This is part of the overall vision when Staples Center was built in downtown LA.
Really?
Yes, it was built at Staples Center, and then let's build the LA Live district across the street. Let's unify the whole thing. That's why you have the theater across the street, you have the restaurants, and we wanted just one plaza that connects and you can freely go back and forth. You're not worried about cars, and it's an event space as well. So fan activations, all sorts of things like that is just all will be connected, unified, one space.
Now, my initial thought when I heard about this particular part of the renovation was, wow, now we have so much room to put more statues in, because I know some people don't like statues. I love statues. I think I say everybody gets a statue if you want. The more the merrier. How does your jurisdiction extend into the statues?
we still have to be cognizant of the overall space, because we want to be able to utilize like red carpet events, for example. All-Star comes back, be able to, so you don't want to spread out too much as well. You want to keep the statues by the entrances, because, when you're coming to the game, you're going to the entrance, you're hanging out over there. So we're not going to spread out too much, but we will have the flexibility of having more space.
And can they be moved? This had never occurred to me before the Dustin Brown statue went up, and somebody said we might move one statue somewhere else, put the Brown statue there, and then move them back, like, have it in a more ideal spot for the ceremony, but then move it to a different place for a permanent home later. I don't think that wound up happening, but it had never even occurred to me that the statues could be moved.
Yeah, you get a contractor, you're digging it up, you crane it up, you put it on wheels, you roll it over.
Easy
very
peasy,
scary. Yeah, easy peasy. That's right. Very scary, but yeah, it's possible. But we have no plans of doing that. All the statues, they're in great places, and they were born there and they belong there. So.
It's funny. Last night was the first time I had seen the garden statue of Kobe Bryant and his daughter.
Yep.
And I'd seen photos of it, but I couldn't tell from the photos where it was. I just couldn't place it because they didn't have any background. It was just the side of the building, and lots of parts of the building look like lots of other parts of the building from the outside. I just thought it was really well located, in the fact that it's more than just a statue. It is a little, and there were people sitting there, and it felt very lived in. It was great. So second to last item, and this one caught me totally by surprise because I had forgotten about it. You mentioned it at the retreat, and I had totally forgotten about it until I hit the media room, and that is the R Cup.
Yes.
And as soon as I saw them, I went, oh, right, of course. I somehow I didn't think they would be in the media room. I thought they'd be just upstairs, but they're everywhere.
We're AEG's vision, sustainability. We're supportive of it. We want to help any way possible. It's practically the entire building. So
sorry, I'm cutting you off. For those who don't know what the heck we're talking about, the R Cup is a reusable cup. Yes. There are separate receptacles throughout the building, specifically for when you're done with your beverage, you throw the cup in the reusable cup bin,
which is yellow. So,
yes, yellow,
all of you out there, pay attention. It's the yellow color trash bins.
So the question I had yesterday, and I think you addressed it at the retreat, but obviously people listening won't have been at the retreat. You're going to get people throwing the cups in the wrong bins. So how do you recoup the loss of these cups? Have to be more expensive than your average, drinking cup, whether it's paper or plastic. How do you avoid people just throwing away your expensive reusable cups? And then, how many do you have to buy more reusable cups if a bunch of people just toss them?
All that is calculated and it's accounted for. Plus, part of our sustainability is we do have staff that will go through and separate, trash, cans, plastic, and all of that. So we do sort. So that's part of the new procedure, that we're sorting those cups out, put them, get them obviously cleaned, sanitized, all the above, and it's all calculated. It's all calculated. That we expect not everybody's going to pay attention to the reusable bins, the yellow bins, and we'll take it from there.
So I wound up at the end of the night with 4 R cups. Because I kept going down to the media room and getting a new one every time I wanted to drink. And then at the end of the night, I just threw my stack away in one of the yellow receptacles in the media room.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no problem. I tried to do my part. But it was, I saw a lot of people look at it sideways, and, but it's a great idea.
And it'll take time, it's something different in the building, and it'll take time, and the fans will get used to it. We're going to try to continue to message it as well, educate everybody, and take it from there.
So last item on the list, and this was not a surprise because obviously there had been a Lakers game and Sparks games and events at Crypto.com Arena, so everybody had a chance to see it. The new scoreboard is massive. And the fact that there's not a single inch of it that isn't a screen is really nice. I don't know what difference it makes. I don't know why it should matter, but it does. It's wrap around. It's just
it's one continuous screen, whereas before it was four screens essentially with edges. 4 rectangles. on the center hung. And now it's one continuous Daktronics board. And this is just something that we, over the last 3 years, we added the 3 ribbon boards that loop the entire building. We've added the 2 hustle boards flanking the Laker banners on the south end of the arena. And then now we got to the scoreboard and replaced that. That board was 13 years old, I believe, give or take. So it was time. The old board was at the end of life. You couldn't find parts and pieces. So
it's 13 years old. That's wild.
I mean, look, with technology, by the time you buy your TV, you go home. It's already so same thing. We gotta keep up, and we gotta put the best product out there.
So this is not a serious question, but one of the things I wondered about was when you take the old scoreboard down,
yes,
and now you have essentially four very large screens and however many there were underneath it, another 4, I think. Can you sell those?
You can, but this was just outdated technology.
Sure. But my thought was, couldn't we take one and put it in TSPC and then broadcast games on it?
It's such an outdated technology.
Right.
If panels go out, you're not going to be able to replace it.
So just because I don't know anything about screen technology, obviously. So there would be panels that would go out in the middle of the game and you could see a little dark spot on the screen. And the new board, let's say, I don't know, does it work the same way as the other ones? Is it made up of panels? Is it LED? How does that?
It's similar. It's made up of panels, but again, it's newer technology that will have a longer life and will just work better. Whereas
so when I got to know the mascots of various different teams, including ours over the years, I learned that if Bailey wants to show up one night in a costume, there's a shop somewhere that does mascot costumes, right? He doesn't have to go to Target, find a ghost costume and, change it himself to fit his, mascot dimensions. There's just one national mascot shop that makes props for mascots, and that's where everybody goes. Is there one company in Duluth somewhere that just does Jumbotron repairs? Everybody goes to the same guy?
No, there were multiple vendors that were interested, and we put it out to bid, and we have a relationship with Daktronics. Our other boards are Daktronics.
Okay.
Which is why we selected them, and we're using their product.
So when you're choosing to forge that relationship with Daktronics in this case, what's the selection panel look like on our side? Is it just you yourself trying to make these connections and you've got a deadline, or are there 15 people? Do you have to run it up the totem pole? How?
You have to run it up the pole. Everything, you have to run it up the pole. It's one, what are they providing? What are they creating, building? What does this screen do versus another brand? Obviously budget, that's a huge part of the decision as well in the end. And then the timeline too. So one thing to note, normally a scoreboard replacement takes a month. Mm-hmm. We did it in less than 2 weeks. So there was the Olympic break where that's when the WNBA Sparks were that they had taken off those 2 weeks. We brought the scoreboard down. The old one, we paused because we had 2 concerts. Then came back after the concert and then started building the new one, middle of the floor, and then had about 10 days to get it up, get it done, and be ready for the next WNBA Sparks game. So we got to take that in consideration as well, because not everybody can deliver that.
When you're making all these changes, the building is owned by the same company that owns the Kings, but it's not as simple as saying the Kings own the building.
Yes.
The Lakers are obviously a high-profile tenant. The Sparks, have a totally different season than the Kings and Lakers. The Clippers are now no longer in. But you're making all these changes. I'm assuming you want to make the changes to benefit your tenants as much as possible. But then you also have your own needs, right? So a concert, there isn't a COO of, Team Concert LA or whatever.
No, but look, we've been there 25 years. We know what the needs are. So we understand that. And something like the scoreboard, 99% of the concerts don't use a scoreboard. They travel with their own screens that hang behind the stage or center stage or whatever it is.
But surely there are sightline issues with the scoreboard.
Yes. So that's the stuff that we'll pay attention to, making sure the weight is not taken away from the overall building rigging capacity, because when a show comes in, we check what their weight capacity is that we're hanging over guests' heads and make sure. So we made sure this scoreboard doesn't take away from other rigging capacities, and that's where the structural engineerings get involved and all that stuff. So it's a lot of hands involved in making sure that this fits for everything, like you said, for all the tenants, teams, shows, and so on.
You don't have to tell me who, but was there any request made by one of the teams for a change or for an element of one of the changes that had to be rejected, where you just said, like, I get why you want this, but we can't do it?
We all work together.
Okay. All right.
All work together.
All right. Well, listen, Armen, thank you very much for this little tour. It was first of all, you knocked it out of the park when you talked to us at the retreat. That was great. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you coming on here and joining me today. And I'm going to take you up on that trip to Doritos After Dark sometime.
We're going to figure out a date, and we're going to go either before the game, after the game, or something.
Yeah, well, I'm there at every game, but I'm usually doing King's Talk afterwards, so maybe we'll have to go before. So
there you go. All righty.
Armen Dembekjian, thank you so much for joining me. And honestly, like, as a fan who was a season ticket member at the building from 1999 to 2012, I think is when we gave up our tickets.
Okay.
And then I started working for the team a few years later. Obviously, they're not going to build a new building every 10 years, every 20 years. And I wouldn't want them to anyway, right? Now it's home, right? Like, I know the drive, I know the parking, I know the LA life. But to pull off 2 changes in short order, right? Because we talked about it earlier, but I really don't want to undersell how impressive the switch over from Staples to Crypto.com was. I mean, it was really, really impressive. And then to make another switch 2 years late, continuous switches over 3 years. It was really impressive. And as a fan, I've appreciated every bit of it. So thank you for joining me, and thanks for being real good at your job.
I appreciate that, Jesse. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening, Kings fans. We'll talk to you soon.